Is preventative beauty, and that's what I focus on.
Farrah Abraham is no stranger to making controversial choices, especially when it involves raising her daughter Sophia. But over the last several years, she's repeatedly been hit with the same criticism. It seems like she spends more time and money on constantly changing her appearance than she does on actually parenting Sophia. The crazy truth about Farrah's transformation will leave you completely shocked. When we first saw Farrah on MTV, she was such a natural beauty, but now she looks unbelievably different. Farrah can barely even move her face anymore because of all the fillers and work she's had done. She recently went to Amsterdam to celebrate her birthday and brought along 14-year-old Sophia. What she posted during her trip was extremely bizarre. Farrah visited a spa and shared a video about the experience to her Instagram story. Her appearance was so jarring though, because her lips no longer moved how they were supposed to when she was talking. But that wasn't even the most startling point. When Farrah tried to blow a kiss to the camera, she couldn't get her lips to form into a pucker, and her voice even sounded different because of the lack of movement. At this point, Farrah's history of cosmetic procedures is pretty extensive, but that's not the only factor that's completely mind-blowing. Ever since 2010, Farrah has basically been getting work done constantly, and it hasn't been cheap. The total amount of money that she's paid over the years for her procedures and plastic surgeries is truly jaw-dropping. Farrah's first cosmetic surgery was to enlarge her chest, and it supposedly set her back about $5,000. 2 years later, she ended up getting a nose job and a chin implant, and what she revealed about the cost of those procedures was seriously surprising. When Farrah spoke to In Touch in 2012 about her new nose and chin, she admitted that the final bill was expensive. She spent a hefty $16,000, but claimed that it was worth it to feel so good about herself. In fact, she seemed remarkably happy about how she looked at the time. At that point, it sounded like Farrah wasn't really planning on getting any other plastic surgeries, but what happened next was totally unbelievable. A year after Farrah announced that she finally didn't hate any part of her face, she had another procedure. Believe it or not, she decided to have her chin implant removed because she hated it so much. In the book she released 2 years ago, Farrah confessed that the chin surgery had changed her face in a terrible way. It brought her self-esteem down so much, and she even called it her biggest regret. But having the chin implant removed wasn't pocket change by any means. Dr. Anthony Yone is an internet-famous plastic surgeon who makes TikToks about popular plastic surgeries. He spoke to the US Sun about how much cosmetic procedures usually cost, and what he revealed was astonishing. Dr. Yone claimed that the price of Farrah's chin implant removal was probably around $4,000, but that was nothing compared to the amount she paid next. This is so ridiculous. According to Dr. Yone, the average cost of each of Farrah's surgeries over the next few years was much higher. By 2015, she had gotten 2 additional operations on her chest, but those were most likely way more expensive than her first surgery for an unthinkable reason. Farrah has explained that her third chest surgery was to repair the mistakes from the second operation. She said that she had to have lots of scar tissue removed, which makes the procedure cost more, but the actual amount she spent was incredibly bizarre. The price of the 2 operations together was probably about $20,000, but it might have been even more. Farrah claimed that she had gone to the best plastic surgeon in Beverly Hills, California, so the bill could have been closer to $25,000, which is absolutely unreal. Already, the sum of Farrah's plastic surgery expenses is around $50,000. That could have been used as a huge contribution to Sophia's future college fund, but I still haven't even covered close to half of Farrah's procedures. Next up is the work she had done to her backside, if you know what I mean. Farrah has also admitted to getting injections, an implant, and a Brazilian lift on her backside. Dr. Yone estimated that the cost of these 3 procedures was about $22,000, and that's not even counting the maintenance that's happened ever since, which is so outrageous. A few years ago, Farrah had more fillers added to her rear end. The price of the injectables is wild, because they usually cost around $5,000. And what's even crazier is that she actually had the procedure recorded by someone pretty unexpected. Farrah brought Sophia with her to her filler appointment and even had her film the injections. Obviously, that's super inappropriate, but it's also just weird because Farrah could have spent $5,000 on a fun day with her daughter doing something she actually enjoys. Instead, she spent more money on herself and dragged Sophia along like she's done several times in the past. Interestingly enough, she didn't bring her to the following appointment, but what she decided to do was honestly absurd. Apparently, Farrah thought she needed a procedure done on a body part that most people keep extremely private, if you catch my drift. But I think we all know she's not one to keep much to herself. However, I don't think anyone expected the complete insanity that unfolded next. Farrah decided to go live on Instagram while she was getting the treatment. She's broadcast her procedures before, but they were on parts of her that weren't nearly as private. But as awkward as the up-close and personal live stream was, it might have actually saved her an unbelievable amount of money. Some doctors and clinics will give free or discounted services to higher profile clients if they advertise the procedure. If that was the case for Farrah, promoting the treatment online could have saved her $5,000. But that's not the only time she's had it done, and her final bill was definitely pricey. Farrah has had the procedure done 3 separate times. In total, she probably spent around $10,000 since one of the treatments might have been on the house. But most of her other cosmetic changes have surprisingly had an even steeper cost. In the last few years, Farrah has been open about getting a handful of other procedures. She's had fox eye surgery and a brow lift, and the price of those together is absolutely mind-boggling. Dr. Yone speculated that Farrah's fox eye procedure procedure was about $7,500, while her brow lift was a whopping $9,000. She's also had cheek fillers and buccal fat removal, which cost $5,000 each. And that's still not all the work she's had done, as crazy as it sounds. Farrah has also had 2 thread facelifts over the last 3 years, which together probably equaled about $5,000. On top of everything, she's also been getting lip fillers and Botox pretty regularly. For as long as she's been getting the injectables, the total cost has to be extraordinary. Dr. Yon said that on average, the price of lip fillers is $1,200 per injection. Botox isn't cheap either, at $750 for each dose. Farrah probably gets Botox at least a few times a year, if not more. After all, whenever a clinic refuses to add more to her face, she just jumps to the next place. Lip fillers usually last for close to a year, but I have a feeling that Farrah's appointments are scheduled way more regularly. And she's also had serious work done to her teeth, even though they looked totally fine before. You'll never guess how much money it cost her to get a full set of veneers. The price of Farrah's extreme dental work was probably around $20,000. I just can't believe the total amount she spent over the years to drastically change her appearance, especially when there was nothing wrong with how she looked originally. It's also been speculated that Farrah has also had at least one more nose job and most likely a lip lift. If she truly has, the cost of those 2 procedures would have set her back another $18,000. Overall, the sum of her plastic surgeries and cosmetic changes is downright shocking. The grand total of Farrah's procedures is around $156,000, and that's not counting lip fillers or Botox. Each year, maintaining her injections probably cost at least a few $1,000s, and that's not counting the work that Farrah hasn't admitted to lately. A lot of people are convinced that Farrah has added even more to her long list of plastic surgeries. Her lips are obviously looking bigger than ever, and so are her cheeks. On the other hand, her nose appears to be a little shorter than it was previously. Either way, the cost of the confirmed work that Farrah has had to change her appearance is insane. But considering what it looks like she's had done recently, plus her fillers, she's probably actually spent about $200,000. It's crazy that Farrah went from having natural beauty to looking unbelievably fake, and she spent so much money to do so. Instead of paying for her unnecessary and honestly terrifying transformation, she could have provided so much more for her daughter. Some people think that Sophia is fine because Farrah clearly isn't broke, but the reality of the situation is actually really heartbreaking. Farrah has confessed that Sophia begged her in the past to let her go to public school, but instead she's isolated in her tiny bedroom doing online school all by herself. And the argument that Sophia gets to have experiences that other kids don't is seriously ridiculous. It's true that Farrah recently took Sophia to Japan and Amsterdam, but how much of the trips consisted of age-appropriate experiences that a 14-year-old would actually want to do? I mean, Farrah took Sophia to a very inappropriate district in Amsterdam that's meant for adult entertainment. Was that really a vacation that Sophia wanted? She opened up about struggling with depression earlier this year, but that wasn't all. What Sophia's been going through sounds truly devastating. Sophia admitted during an appointment with a child psychologist that she's severely affected by social anxiety. She's even had to sit on the floor of concerts before just to get over her panic attacks. So how much fun would it really be for her to go to a super busy tourist spot that isn't at all child-friendly? It's seriously so sad that Farrah has spent a fortune changing her looks when she didn't need to change anything in the first place. Instead, she could have been saving that money for Sophia or spending it on activities that are appropriate for both of them. At the very least, Farrah could pull from her plastic surgery fund to pay a little more in rent. That way, her daughter wouldn't have to be stuck studying in such a tiny, depressing bedroom. Unfortunately, Farrah only seems to be getting more and more work done, and there's no end in sight. But what do you guys think about all this? What do you think about Farrah's shocking transformation over the years? And what are your thoughts on the insane amount of money she has spent on all of her cosmetic changes? Let me know in the comments below.